Hey guys, August here. How you guys and girls doing? So someone asked me to make them a scholar video just to show them what I do on my scholar. Now you can't really make a guide to scholar, I guess. Well, I guess you can. So we'll give it a shot. Anyway, let's get into it. So as a scholar, your job is to prevent damage and to deal DPS, not to heal everyone up to full. That is your co-healer's job. He is to heal people up to full. You are a preventer, so to say. You're like a shielder. You shield the party from mechanics to make your co-healer's job easier on him, so that he can just leave people most of the time with a regen to regen up, and then he can focus on doing DPS as well. Because in Final Fantasy, the game's meta is all about healer DPS and doing only enough healing that you need. Don't overheal, because any overhealing you do is GCDs you're wasting on dealing DPS, and dealing DPS as healers is quite helpful in savage modes, if that is what you're after. If you're not into the savage raiding scenes of Final Fantasy, then you can stand there and heal. Just check out some DPS every now and then. If you're standing there doing nothing while healing, you're losing time, and even if you're doing a little bit of deeps, you can help the party go faster. You don't have to focus on DPSing, but a little bit of DPS goes a long way to making everything faster. Everyone has different opinions on that, but as a scholar, your main job, well, obviously is healing. Never forget, you're a healer first, and then you want to DPS a lot. So for melds, you would go crit and determination. Direct hit is if you are... The only time I would see direct hit melds being good is if you're in a really try-hard static savage group, and you guys are like doing speed kills and pushing like really fast kill timers and stuff, and you're in a really like hardcore serious group, then you would meld direct hit all the way probably. And vitality, if you're in world first groups or like server first groups and you're clearing content when your gear level is pretty low, then you would go for vitality in your accessories. But if you're not world first or server first raiding or hardcore crazy savage raiders, then I would go crit det, because that benefits your healing and your DPS, whereas direct hit only benefits your DPS. It has no benefit on heals. So if they change how direct hit works later on down the line to make it affect healing, sure, then go for it as well. But right now, crit and det is the way to go for healing non-tryhard groups, so to say. So to heal as a scholar, Adler costs a lot of MP, but it is a very good skill. And so normally you would add low on a tank bust. You wouldn't spam add low because that would run you out of MP really fast, and that's not good. So if pre-pull, you know there's going to be AoEs that hit everyone in the group. Say, what could we use for example? Lakshmi, the first Stratton that hits after the 2 adds, when you kill the 2 adds right at the beginning. So what you would do for that is you would pop Lagis, and then if you have a warrior in the group, get him to go into tank stance and use Convalescence, and then you farm a crit adler on him before the pull. There we go, 10k crit adler, and then you deploy. Deployment tactics, that spreads that adloquium to the whole group. So now the whole group has a 10k adler on them. So yeah, if you do that on a warrior, it could go up to like 12k adler. That's going to basically make the first Stratton deal no damage at all. So you and your co-healer could just DPS the whole start of the fight, because that Stratum's not going to do anything, so you don't have to worry about it. That's just examples. Not every pull you want to start with a spread adlo, because not always is there going to be raid-wide damage going on. So it just depends on the fights. You need to learn the fights and when you want to do that. But it is advisable to use adlo on the tank pre-pull every fight, because that saves you it gives you enough time to put your dots up on the boss, whether it's be in a dungeon, in a raid, in a trial, or anything. 1 adler should be enough to cover, especially if it's a crit adler, for you to get your dots up. So you want to get your miasma and your bio up on the target. And then you just want to heal stuff. And if you're not healing, you're DPSing. The thing about a scholar is you need to know the fight. The more you know the fight, the easier it is as a scholar's job, because you want to shield the damage. You don't want to heal after the damage is gone out. You want to heal before the damage comes through. So if there's raid wides coming up and everyone is not like closely stacked, or you can't get someone to to deploy, then you just hit everyone with a sucker. So it's a red white coming out. Sucker's a pretty large range, and then that covers that. If it's going to be really big AoE, then you can track down your Sacred Soil as well on top of the sucker, and you see that gives you a free chance of getting a free sucker. So I just got a free sucker. So what you could do with that free sucker, if you suck it earlier, you could emergency tactics. That makes your next Adler or your sucker not shield but heal for the amount that it would have shielded. So the sucker would heal for twice as much. It'd basically be a Medica instead of a shielding sucker. And the same with Adler. If you emergency Adler, that's just a really big heal, like a spot heal, like a Tier 2 or something. Since we don't have anything besides Lustrate, but that eats our Aether stacks. And then action bar, I have these over here for just track your cooldowns, like Chain Shadow Gem, Shadow Flare, Lagis, Cleric Stance. Excog is a very useful ability. Do not get this ability wrong. It is basically a free Tank Buster card. So you check that on the tank before Tank Buster comes out, and you don't need to heal him. If he drops below half, then it's gonna pop and it's gonna heal him up. So that's basically a Tank Buster. If you still want to Adler them because they could get the possibility of getting one shot, depending on the content obviously, but an Adler and an Excog is more than enough to deal with a Tank Buster. Even just an Excog in most times. That's a great ability. It's on a short cooldown too, relatively short. I think it's 30 seconds. 45 seconds. I don't heal enough to remember all these things. And then Rouse, you can use that as a defensive and an offensive cooldown because it increases the healing that your Fairy does. So basically by doing that, your Fairy is going to heal more, so you could go DPS a bit more since your Fairy is going to be healing more. So that's why it's technically an offensive cooldown. Or if you're using it defensively when there's a lot of raid whites coming out and you're using EOS, because EOS has a AoE regen. And then if you use Rouse before she uses that, then everyone is going to heal for more. And as a scholar, to get the most out of your fairies, you want to have them on Obey. You don't want to have them on Sick. If you have them on Sick, then they'll just use everything whenever they feel like it. So to get the most out of a scholar, you need to get used to using your fairies on Sick and telling them what to do. You can even macro in your Physic and your Adler, but I wouldn't suggest having only those buttons. Like have your set buttons and then have the macro buttons separate, where you have your Fairy Embrace as you cast abilities. That's useful, but I just use the on controller. It's not too bad. You can just hit Embrace. So you hit R1 and it swaps to your action bar, and you hit Embrace on whoever you want. What else is there to healing? So let's talk about your role skills. Okay, these are the ones that you always want to take. Swiftcast, Lagis, Lucid, and Protect. You always want to have those. Those are like set in stone, I would say. And then obviously if you're in a raid, if you're in a savage raid group and your other healer has Protect, you don't need to take Protect. But Protect is on there most of the time because, yeah, you're not always with another healer that you know, and dungeons and whatever. And then Cleric Stance is what I like to take for most things. And then Asuna as a scholar, if you have your Fairy on thingy and you have, whatchamacallit, her name, Celine, you've got Asuna basically. But some fights you might need Asuna for, like, Omega 4. There's that Doom that you have to dispel, although Celine can dispel both. So technically you don't need it if you have Celine on Obey and you use it at the right time. So I would have Cleric Stance. I use Cleric Stance on cooldown, and you want to use that in your opener when Chain Stratagem is up, and just, it's not amazing, but it's better than nothing. 5% increase is better than nothing increase. So if you need to have Asuna for whatever reason, for if there's a fight that requires you to have a lot of dispels, then I would say drop Cleric or Protect for Asuna. Obviously I would say drop Protect because I'm a monster and Cleric Stance beats a run. That's how I play. More DPS. You want to go Cleric all the way, then you drop Protect and get Asuna. Break is basically old slow, so useless. Rescue is one of my favorite abilities in the game to kill people. So not very useful yet so far in all the fights we've been in. Can be maybe one day, but so far there's nothing that it's really useful in. I mean, Susanoo, you could argue that it's useful for pulling back the stack person when he's behind a lightning strike. But yeah, the other things just outweigh your SQ, and it's on too long of a cooldown to make it worth. Sharecast is obviously, that's pretty decent for something that you know is going to interrupt you, and Eye for an Eye is very good in dungeons. I would almost drop Cleric for Eye for an Eye, because in dungeons the tanks tend to pull big groups. So Eye for an Eye, if you put that on your tank, then it's going to make all the mobs deal 10% less damage, because yeah, they're all going to be hitting your tank obviously, and they all have the chance to get the debuff on them. So Eye for an Eye in dungeons, great. In raids, yeah, that's good, but not amazing. I would still take Cleric over it. That's all there really is to Scholar. I can make you guys a video of me doing, say, Omega Savage 1 or 2 or something, and then if you guys want to see in action how I play Scholar. But that's really all there is to Scholar. Don't overheal, depend on your Fury. If everyone dies, it's Celine's fault. That's the Scholar's motto. If it dies, blame Celine. If everyone dies, blame Celine. Your job is to deal DPS and shield for mechanics that are happening. And that's really all there is about Scholar. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions or if you have any tips or comments or anything, leave them in the comment section below. And thank you for all the support on the videos. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Augie saying out.